Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Cooks by Carrie. If you're new here, I'm Carrie, and for today's video, I'm sharing how to make these delicious loaded potatoes. Now, the recipe I got is from Tasty, and I'm testing it out for you. I'm going to give you the tips and tricks and tell you how to make this amazing. Alrighty, without further ado, let's get into the video. Alrighty, for this recipe, you are going to need 3 russet potatoes, some olive oil, salt, shredded cheddar cheese, and I elected to use my favorite cheese, which is from Trader Joe's. It's the unexpected cheddar, and it's really, really good. But you can use your favorite cheddar or any cheddar you have. You're going to need some scallions, bacon. Now, it called for 3/4 of a cup, which I did not have. I used way less. But personally, I'm not the biggest fan of bacon. I actually don't really like it. So this recipe was fine for me. But if you like bacon, you're going to need to use more than I'm showing. You also need some sour cream, butter, milk, pepper, and you can put chives on the top to serve, but I elected not to do that. And that's all. It's pretty, I feel like all these ingredients are, you might have to go to the store to get them, but some of them you'll at least have at home. Alrighty, so the first step for these potatoes is to put them on a tray, poke them with a fork, and this is so that they don't explode when they cook, or pierce them with a fork, you can say it either way. And then cover them with olive oil and salt. I did not use all the salt there, I just used some of it. Also, something important to note is that you want your potatoes to be around the same size, because if they're not, then they're going to bake all differently, and then it'll just be a little bit of a mess figuring out how much time you need to cook them for. So this recipe said it served 3. However, you'll see I do something a little bit differently than the recipe about halfway through once they get cooked, and this made 6 for me. I don't know. If you would want your whole potato to yourself, you could totally do that, but I just think it's a lot. So I feel like in reality, this makes 6 servings instead of 3. So yeah, I'm just gonna, do what I said here. Pierce some on the front and the back, then olive oil, some salt. And then you want to really get in with your hands, because you really want to make sure that the oil is going everywhere. Alrighty, so now it is off in the oven they go. You're going to want to make sure that you preheat your oven to 350 degrees. I'm sorry, I'm just mentioning that. But you're going to want to do that, and then the potatoes are supposed to cook for about like an hour and 15 minutes. But mine actually took probably an hour and 25 minutes maybe, but my oven is wonky, so do what's best for you. Alrighty, so it has been about an hour and 20-ish minutes. You can see that on my oven, the temperature read 370 degrees. That is because my oven was being really wonky, but you're going to want to keep it on 350. So here's how they looked, and when I took a knife in, I was debating like slicing it right there, like what I was going to do, but I ended up poking them, and they were coming out very clean. So I'm not sure if I showed that on the camera, but yeah, I don't think I do, but I did, and this is what they looked like, and I was very excited to eat them. This recipe may be simple, but it takes a very long time. That is something that has to be said about this recipe. Alrighty guys, before we continue with this video, please subscribe, hit that thumbs up, comment down below what you'd like to see next. I would love some suggestions. Turn that notification bell on so you get notified when I post a new video, and share this video with a friend. I have a goal of 100 subscribers, so if you could please help me get there, that would be greatly appreciated. Alrighty, let's finish out this recipe. Alrighty guys, so this next step is after I have removed them from the baking sheet, and then I put them in a bowl and stuck them in the fridge for 10 minutes. Now the recipe says before you do this step that I'm showing right here, that you cool them completely. But I'd already been working on this recipe for like over an hour and a half, and I was like, no, I'm doing this now. Like, I want my potato, we're gonna bake it again, so it's like there's no point of fully cool them in my mind. Now what you see me here doing is cutting the potatoes in half, like completely. Now the recipe says to just cut a slit on the top, scoop out the insides, and then you're left with like the roundness of the potatoes. So you only have 3 instead of like 6 pieces like you see here. You just have 3 potatoes, and you're not fully cutting them. But I read some of the recipe comments, and they were saying, it's kind of just easier to cut them fully in half, and then you double the serving size. And I was like, perfect, that's what I'm gonna do. And I completely recommend this to you, completely. I think it's kind of like a pro move to do the this lid at the top. And also, I felt like these potatoes, like the serving is pretty big, so you're probably gonna get full before you eat the whole one. And then this way you can have half and then go back for another one, or share it with more people or whatever. So that is what tip number 1 I recommend to you. Well, actually, tip number 2, because my first tip is also don't cool them completely. I think that's a waste of time. Alrighty, so now what I'm going to do is scoop out all the filling. So you be careful because the potato is hot. I mean, if you're doing it how I suggest. But then just scoop out the inside. And at first, you want to be kind of more gentle with it. Like, you don't want to break the skin. But you'll see that you can actually scoop out more than what I did. So that one still has some potato left in it. But the goal is just to get most of it out. So, yeah, just scoop it gently. And then I've realized that you can actually go a little deeper. The goal is just to have the least amount of potato left in the skin without breaking the skin. So if you gotta leave some in there, you gotta leave some in there. It's still gonna be delicious and still gonna be good. And so I actually don't think I've ever had a loaded potato before this, but this recipe was really good, and I definitely recommend it. But basically, we're scooping out the potato to put the other ingredients that you saw at the beginning of the video, combine them together, and then we're going to re-stuff the potato with the filling and then bake them for a teeny bit again. And it's kind of like, instead of like, with a baked potato, you put all the toppings on top, it's kind of like, instead of putting them on top, you're like mixing them in and then cooking them a little bit longer, if that makes any sense. But yeah, so I'm just repeating this with all of my potatoes. And this is a really fun, I feel like an all year round recipe, but I feel like especially coming with summer, it's a good, kind of cookout type dish. You can really serve it with anything. Chicken, steak. That video coming soon, so wait for that. And yeah, really anything. Alrighty, now to our hot potatoes. I was going to call them potato mixture, but they're just potatoes. I am mashing them down, and then I'm going to add in the cheese, the milk, the sour cream, the chives, the bacon, and the butter. You do want to save some of the cheese and some of the bacon to put on the top. Oh, I'm also adding pepper in at this step. I forgot to save some cheese to put on top, but I did just add more cheese in later. And yep, this is step where I'm transferring to a bigger bowl. Also, this is tip number 3. When you have to make something, get a bigger bowl. It doesn't matter if you're mixing something really small or really large. Bigger is always better when it comes to bowls. You don't want to spill any of this really good mixture. I mean, I've been working on this probably for an hour and 45 minutes at this point. And so yes, I do want to mention that this recipe is very, very time consuming. So just be mindful for that. Like, for example, I started at 5:30 and the potato wasn't done till 8:30. I know. Crazy, right? I mean, I am filming, so it does take me longer, but you just want to keep in mind that you gotta put the time in for this recipe. But anyway, as I was saying, you don't want to spill any of your goods out of the bowl. You really want to keep them all contained. So bigger bowl. That is tip number 3 or 4 for you all. I don't really remember, but it doesn't really matter. I'm just dishing out the tips here. If you find any of these tips helpful, comment down below, or if you've made this recipe before, let me know if you liked it or if there's anything else I should add. Also, please take this time, if you haven't already, to comment down below recipe suggestions for me. I know I mentioned this a little bit ago, but I'd love your guys' input on what you want to see in my videos. I'm really open to making any dish, so let me know. Alrighty, so now it is time to add in that really good mixture back into the potatoes. I'm using an ice cream scoop, but feel free to just use a spoon, a cookie scoop, really whatever. And I did notice that I actually had a little bit left over of the good mixture left over. So I thought that was kind of interesting, but I guess it kind of makes sense because the mixture is growing in volume since you are adding sour cream and other stuff to it. But yeah, so I just went in there with a couple scoops or so. And what I ended up doing is then smoothing it out with a spoon and then adding more into the ones that didn't get as much. So, because basically my dad was like, oh, well, you're already putting so much in that first one that you should really only do 1 scoop. But I still think 2 scoops is the way to go. So, you'll see me add in some more in a minute. But yeah, you know what? I was going to say I'm not that big a fan of mashed potatoes, but this is different than mashed potatoes, but also kind of similar to me because, you're mashing the potatoes with other greens. I don't know. That was kind of a random thought there, but it was very, very good. Yeah, this is like also the third potato video I've done so far, so I'm hoping you're not getting sick of them because I love potatoes, but I don't really know if there's anything else I can do with the potatoes. This might be the last one. I'll link them here so you guys can see them if you haven't already. So yep, I'm just going ahead and filling them with the rest of the mixture. Then I'm going to transfer them to a baking sheet and add some more bacon bits and some cheese, which you'll see in a second. And here they are. I was actually really proud of how they looked. It did take a while. Yeah, it did, definitely. But they were so worth it. They were so good. I actually wasn't sure if I was going to like them, but I just really like them. I like the crunch of the chive. I like the cheesiness of them. I like the creaminess from like the sour cream and the potato. And I like the little crunchy bits of bacon. So overall, this recipe was, I mean, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. I think it was really good. If you put in the effort and you follow my tips, I think you can do this recipe and you'll have success and really like it. But if you don't like potatoes, obviously you're not going to like this recipe. So I guess it's not for everyone. But for a majority of you, I think you'll really enjoy this. Alrighty, so then I pop this in the oven. So you're keeping the temperature 350. It said about 10 minutes, but it's just until the cheese melts. And so for me, this was like about 5 minutes. So just kind of be checking it here and there. The cheese just has to melt. And especially if you do what I did where you keep it kind of warm, it's going to be warm. So you're good like that. So, like I said, about after 5-6 minutes, I pulled them out, and I was very happy with how they were looking. You can see the cheese is melted, or it's a little bit hard to tell because my cheese was white, but they just look so great. I was so excited to eat them. They just looked so good. Yep. And so, definitely, guys, watch out for the Foodie Friday video. Spoiler alert, I'm going to be teaching you how to grill some delicious steak, and it is a perfect addition to these loaded potatoes. Together, very good. Alrighty guys, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please follow me on Instagram at Cooks by Carrie. I post lots of fun photos of the food I cook, and make sure to do the things I mentioned in the middle of the video, like, comment, subscribe, do all those fun YouTube things, and I'll see you on Foodie Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time for a how to grill steak video. Alrighty, bye guys.